Appropriations and adjudication will come to order. Notice of the public hearing was disseminated to all local media outlets via electronic format on January the 25th, with a second notice provided on January the 30th. Notice of this hearing was also made known on the Guam Legislature's website. We have two bills on for hearing today. The first bill, 238, was introduced by Senator Nerissa Underwood, and it appropriates $250,000 from the Healthy Futures Fund for DYA program expansion. And the second bill, Bill 239, was introduced by Senator Espaldon and Senator Blas, and adds a new item relative to the use of funds from revolving or other special funds. We'll start the hearing. It's now 10 minutes after 2, and I'll ask Senator Underwood if she wishes to make an opening statement on her bill.
Mr. Speaker, if I could just yield to Senator Espaldon, because I believe there's a parent who wanted to give testimony, but she's on her way. So if I may.
All right, Senator Espaldon, do you want to introduce your bill?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Bill number 239-33LS is entitled An Act to Add New Items F and G to the Guam Code Annotated relative to the use of funds from revolving or other special revenue funds. And the whole gist of this, Mr. Chairman, is to, in essence, try to preserve the funds that are generated, the revenues that are generated for special funds, which were created for special uses, as revolving or special revenue funds develop balances greater than the average spent during the prior fiscal years by the entity for which these funds were created. These revolving or special revenue fund balances become the targets to fund programs and projects that need additional revenue. However, these funding, these projects that are taking funding from these special funds are not necessarily within the purposes set forth by law that the funds were created. Recent examples of this, for example, were the use of funds for purposes other than that for which these funds were established, including, for example, an appropriation of $500,000 from the Guam Highway Fund to UOG's Capital Improvements Fund and $278,000 to GCC Capital Improvement Fund. Again, those funds should have gone to the Guam Highway improvements, and because they were diverted elsewhere, that that money is no longer available for road projects. Another example would be about $349,000 from the Tourist Attraction Fund to Parks and Recreations for the maintenance of its pool facilities, and another $117,000 from the Tourist Attraction Fund to fund Customs and Quarantine for its operations. In times of emergencies, Mr. Chairman, the authorization has been granted to the governor to utilize all available funding sources to meet the immediate needs of the community. In almost all of these cases, monies tapped from revolving or special revenue funds were expended but never reimbursed. The lone exception to this borrowing of the funds was a multi-million-dollar reimbursement to the Tourist Attraction Fund, but only after pressure was exerted to do so by the tourism industry. These proposed amendments within this bill will not prohibit the use of money from revolving or special revenue funds for purposes other than what is established by statute. Rather, these amendments that are included in this bill seeks to instill a need to reimburse these funds so that the activities that these funds were meant to undertake can still be realized. I'm hoping that by passing this bill and having it signed into law, the possibility of having adequate funding to repair and maintain Guam's highways and village streets may proceed as planned. Passing this bill could also mean Guam's historical sites and attractions have a greater chance to be rehabilitated and enjoyed by residents and visitors alike. Mr. Speaker, I think it's time that we ensure that the revenues that are put into these special purpose funds go towards the projects that are by law on the books for the use of these funds, and that we go forward and perhaps manage our funding a little bit better. I think there's also be a greater accountability as to what really we have when it comes to budget time, what do we really have for operations as opposed to rating special purposes fund, but really from the general fund revenues that really should be going to the operations. With that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Senator Espaldon. I don't believe anybody has appeared to testify, but the committee will continue to accept any written testimony on this matter for the next 10 days. Please provide written testimony to the office of Vice Speaker Benjamin Cruz at 155 Hessler Place, Hagåtña, Guam 96910. You may also send it via email to senator@senatorBJCruz.com, or you can send it via fax to 477-2522. Yes. All three. Okay. I guess then we'll go to your bill.
Okay.
Bill 239 is deemed heard, and I want to recognize my colleagues who have joined me. You just heard Senator Espaldon. Senator Underwood is also present with the Minority Leader, Senator Tony Etta, and Senator Tommy Morrison.
Thank you, Vice Speaker, for quickly scheduling a public hearing on Bill 238. Bill 238 seeks to appropriate $250,000 from the unreserved fund balance of the Healthy Futures Fund as of September 30, 2015, to the Guam Department of Youth Affairs for the expansion of programs and services offered by the Community Social Development Unit, or also known as Community Resource Centers. These centers were first established in 1996, and today, thanks to GURA block grant, have 3 permanent homes, one in Dedro, one in Agate, and one in Manilao. During the past 20 years, the centers have evolved as a place for youth, especially those at-risk youth and their families, to participate in programs and services that include homework assistance, mentoring, tutoring, computer labs, arts and crafts, physical fitness, sports, activities, after-school care, as well as a jump start and aftercare for court-involved youths and those at risk. By diverting idle behavior, which oftentimes translates into troubling youth, to positive behavior, this can only benefit the youth and the community. We also know there is evidence-based research when youth do well in school, we have fewer dropout rates and fewer dropouts, and overall have a better chance of success in life. The DYA and the centers have numerous community partners that volunteer at the centers, which is a great contribution to benefit our youth. However, even with the assistance of volunteers, and because over the years the centers have seen a decrease in funding, they have not been able to fulfill its mission and had to curtail some of the services. As a result, it limited the amount of youth accepted into the programs and services, decreased the hours of operation, for example, not being able to provide services on Saturdays and school breaks when youth are not in school and need an outlet to stay out of trouble. Bill 238 will provide the money needed to expand the center's services and programs to include Saturdays, extend its hours of operation, and open the centers during school breaks. What we're targeting particularly for this is a summer program. The money will be used primarily to hire more social workers, community program aides, and provide stipend for teachers. In addition, the staff has never had comprehensive training to adequately manage the programs and services. Training would be extremely beneficial when dealing with the youth, and the appropriation would enable the centers to have a year-round community learning program to include an intensive summer literacy program, academic services, agricultural activities, physical fitness, and training having to do with preventing substance abuse, tobacco use, alcohol abuse, and other preventive measures. In addition, there will be workshops that will be developed for parents, guardians, and other family members to help their children. So I encourage my colleagues to please support and join me in passing Bill 238. There has been a testimony that had been provided by a parent here, a written testimony, and her name is Jessica Babauta. And she reads here, and I want to take the time to read this because it's just real important. She said, "My name is Jessica Babauta. I am a single mother of 2 children who utilize the Haja Youth Center. I am writing this testimony to give you a little glimpse of how the center has helped our youths in the community and the environment they have created for them. The Department of Youth Affairs Haja Center, which is located down south, is a safe place where the kids can go after school and even during breaks from class. They provide and have provided a computer lab for researching, mentoring, given the minimal staffing they have, tutoring, which I would like to mention that my daughter receiving an award from her school last year for passing her SAT-10 test. They do many activities with our youth, such as arts and crafts, gardening, cook demonstrations, physical fitness, and many more. Overall, they provide positive plays and activities to inspire and educate our youth. I hope writing this will help understand the great impact these centers have on our kids today. It only helps them stay away from trouble by providing a safe environment to go to. It also focuses on improving their education, as well as giving them hands-on basic skills that you don't get in books. In the end, having the Haja Center greatly benefits our community by providing positive tools needed to accommodate the growing body and minds of youth today. Now, I want to bring attention to Bill 238 because it's utilizing funds from the Healthy Future funds, and for the most part, we're targeting a summer literacy program to be implemented in the summer, and part of the curriculum there will focus on. Wait, let me make sure that I say this correctly. The curriculum will focus on health education and awareness on tobacco and alcohol and substance abuse prevention, programs for improving overall health and well-being, and the community-based programs directed towards youth, low-income or at-risk persons and families, and part of the goal is to increase student success in academics. So to the extent that the Healthy Futures Fund is supposed to provide training and for our youth as a preventive measure for the abuse of drugs and alcohol and tobacco use, I believe that it is a worthy program to pursue. What Director Adonis Mendiola had been working with me, and he had made the request initially early last year. And what he had really wanted to do was to expand this program so that they can increase the number of youths who can benefit from it, and also to expand the types of activities that will be incorporated in the programs for the kids who do participate. They had even talked about the problems that they have encountered, is that some of our kids who are at risk actually need transportation to go to the center. So they had thought about maybe even leasing some vans, and there are youths that can be identified by DOE who can greatly benefit from this. And so in a nutshell, that's basically what Bill 238 is about.
Thank you very much, Senator Underwood. I note there's also testimony that's been submitted by the judiciary. We have the Director of Public Health and Social Services here and the Executive Manager of the of Sanctuary. Would you please join us? James?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Senators. I actually had come to support Adonis on this, but he has a personal matter to take care of, and I think a lot of his staffers are attending some of that procurement training that GCC is conducting. So I don't have any objection to this. I think it might be an opportunity to see whether this approach can work, you know, on a broader scale. I don't know if 250,000 is going to do it if we're talking about hiring staffing. And usually you don't hire, you know, for just the summer. You're going to wind up with them for however long. But I think it's an opportunity to see if that's going to work. I mean, there's no question that we probably should have all our children in school for 12 months. We lose a lot when they're in the summer. So even though I kind of selfishly think it's a raid on my Healthy Futures Fund, it's really not. I mean, it's not my fund. But I think it's worth trying to see if this will help. So if we get some metrics to show that this helps, there might be some pushback from some people saying, how come just this particular population? Why are we rewarding this group of kids and not some other group of kids? But it doesn't really matter to me. As long as we can see that some progress will be made, then maybe we'll find some way to fund something larger, but maybe not through Healthy Futures. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ariel.
Thank you, Senators. Thank you for the invitation to provide testimony on Bill 238. I, too, am here to support Bill 238 as written by the good Senator Underwood. For the record, Sanctuary has been a very strong partner with DYA. We currently service the resource centers, all three resource centers.
Push it away. You're away from you a little bit.
Away? Okay. Currently, we are in partnership with DYA at the resource centers, the three resource centers. Our AmeriCorps program, as you know, is the largest program of AmeriCorps, and we do provide tutoring and mentoring for the students, for the kids who participate and take advantage of the resource centers. I do want to mention that I did speak to Adonis earlier today with regards to this bill, and in particular, he did talk about the summer program. And I understand from him that federal funds used to provide more funding to the resource center, and for whatever reasons, those funding levels have reduced, and so he is seeking other means to sustain the staffing of all three resource centers. The AmeriCorps program that Sanctuary provides does augment staffing needs, but because there are more AmeriCorps members, there is a need for full-time members to always be in the premise, and not the AmeriCorps members running or primarily functioning as the staff at the resource center. He does have staff, but it's very limited, so I'm very supportive of that. I do want for the record to say that Sanctuary did just submitted a peace grant, which is the reduction of alcohol and tobacco through the Guam Behavioral Health Peace Office. And if successful, we should realize those funding and greater partnership with DYA. And one of those venues would be the resource centers that will bring that kind of training and those to the at-risk kids that attend or participate at the resource center. So for the record, we do fully support DYA's efforts that's outlined in this bill, and Sanctuary will be there to augment or to provide any additional partnerships that DYA might require and that we could provide. Thank you.
Do we have another person? Will you be testifying? Please join us and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, good senators. My name is Gina Flores, and I am here to support Bill 238 as well for Senator Underwood. My children, I am a single parent of 2 boys, and we are the recipient of what DYA is offering, their services. And I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why you should approve this bill. 3 reasons. One, it will empower our youth. It empowers parents like me, and also empower our community, of course. I can testify because back in 2013, I became a single parent. And my 2 boys, they are so young and they didn't take it well. You know, the divorce was really hard on them. And I was not working at that time, only working part-time. But then I was able to work full-time because of what DYA is doing. They were taking care of my children as I was going to school and I was going to work at the same time, because they had this service called, you know, if you were in, because I was in public assistance as well at that time. They had this program that if you were in the public assistance and you're willing to work, then they're willing to provide support to take care of your children. So I took advantage of that. And, you know, after that summer of 2013, they had to close down Lagu because of lack of funding. But I tell you, that time, and then that time when my children was in Lagu and then Katan Resource Center, both run by DYA, they were empowered because at that time, you know, like I said, they were going through a lot of emotional problems, you know, with their dad leaving. And DYA, really, the staff, you know, at that time was Miss Lani, Miss Jackie, Mrs. Paulino, and all the other staff, the coach for the soccer, they empowered my children because they went beyond their job description. They did not just provide care for my children, but they also counseled them. You know, I know it's not part of their job, but because my children are showing signs of anger, you know, and depression, they also counseled them, and they took them out for field trips, and also, you know, they got them involved for sports. And that empowered my children. And that empowered me too, because I was able to go to work and go to school. You know, if you can remember, you know, I graduated and I was able to work for Senator Underwood for a little while. I miss giving you guys water during this time. So, you know, and now I'm a teacher at iLearn now. So it really is a big help. You know, and during the summer, you know, I plan to still go to school, and I plan to bring my children back to DYA. So, you know, just because it empowers our youth and empowers the parents like me, it will also empower our community for a better Guam. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. That was very moving. Any questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much for your testimony. Again, the committee will continue to receive testimony over the next 10 days. To send it to Senator at senatorbjcruz.com. You can drop it off at the mailroom, 155 Hessler Street, or fax it to 477-2522. That completes our agenda for this afternoon. The committee stands adjourned.